allows you to understand how you fit in this world of sports medicine or clinical care or healthcare, whatever it is. The culture of healthcare is changing dramatically. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, welcome any new listeners, any returning listeners. Welcome back. This is a phenomenal episode. But before I get into anything, I have to celebrate. I am a new proud father of Jacob James, is his name. For any listeners who've been around, I announced. It took a while to announce it, but it took me about 7 months to make it public knowledge. But we had a beautiful baby boy, Jacob, and we added to our family of now five. So we have Zach. We have who's going to turn 5 this year. We have Alex, who just turned 3, and we have Jacob, who was born in June last week. So I'm really, really excited about that. So I had to share proud father moment. Thanks for putting up with me. For those of you who have been around, I am really excited about my new journey with my family and everything coming through with this podcast and this new programs that we're offering. So with the new birth of my son, I'm excited to announce some future conferences that I'll be putting on. I'm hoping at the end of this year, so we're in 2021, 2021, and I'm really excited to bring on a small conference of PTs coming together in the fall. I'll announce more, but that's some new housekeeping. My kids, I'm out of the office at the moment. I am just creating content for this side of the business, and I'm really, really excited. And so, with this downtime being home with my kids, I'm really excited to just deliver more content to you guys and be able to help the healthcare professional, the PT, the aspiring experts, and that's you guys. And I know what that feels like because I'm still trying to figure it all out, and I'm just sharing my tips along the way. Nonetheless, let's get on to this podcast. This one was created by a friend, gym goer member, an aspiring PT, I think, or fitness professional. His name is Gio. Gio used to train with me at a gym here next door across the Chula Vista, and he asked, how do I study for the CSCS exam? So I brought in the scope of this podcast for the reason that it applies to so many people and at different points along the way. So let me describe. Some of you may know this and be experts in this and already have your CS. Let me give a broad overview and then how it fits into your professional career, and then how to maximize it, or if you're new to it, how to study for it, how to maximize it, and then what to do with it afterwards. Because I've gone through the whole scope. I've had it for 20 years now. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. So the CSCS, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist certification. And this is through the NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association. Now, there's a lot that you can take nowadays. But I think if you're going to look at what's historically been around and accepted widely is the CSCS exam or the certification. So let me start broadly. Do you need a CSCS to work with athletes, to work in pro sports, to get you a job in a athletic setting? Let's start with that. Okay. First, let me ask, why do you feel that you need this CSCS exam? I always have to ask that, and I've had this from PTs here at Sports Performance, like, oh, I want to get the next certification, okay, why? Why do you? Because I want an honest, genuine answer. Is it to have the alphabet soup right behind you? Because that's not the real reason why you should be doing this. And some will say it's to improve my clinical skill set, improve my outcomes, and then I have to ask why. Is it because you don't feel satisfied with how you're studying right now and all the content you're absorbing? Because most of you who listen to this podcast, you're listening to, I mean, all the podcasts, right? The all the PTs, the strength conditioning certification people, the Mike Boyles, you name it. You're listening to everybody, and you're just consumed by knowledge. You have all this stuff you're learning, right? Um, the hard part is growing, is actually implementing that knowledge. For many of you, it's just absorbing it all, and you're like, oh my gosh, I learned this cool new thing. And then you take it into the clinic, you apply it once, and then you're like, forget about it because you're already on to the next book, on to the next podcast. And the problem is that you're trying to digest too much. And for many of you, you just have to stick to the basics. So I have to ask, why are you getting the CSCS? Because you can still get that content without the certification. So why do you need it? Now, the truth is, for some of you, you need the accountability. There's a saying that I'll say it many, many times. Those who pay attention. Those who pay attention. Meaning, you have to pay for something to see to see the value in it, in order for you to actually use it and study for it and take an exam. Think about it. That's all school is. I mean, you can just read books on your own, but in theory, you actually have to pay to make you do it and stay regimented. Otherwise, you're human. You're just going to fall off the track. So, in that sense, if the CSCS, if you're looking for accountability, you know you want to study, you love this content, but you want to use this as an opportunity so that you can force yourself to sit down and do it, absolutely. I'm all for that. But I want you to be honest with yourself. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I've been waiting to take this CSCS and I'm so excited because I think it's going to give me the dream job. I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I have to stop you there. And if you're looking for a in your face podcast, tell you the truth, let's just do it. I love that. Just keep listening to my episodes. I'll tell you how it is because that's the way I tell my team how it is. It's the real nitty gritty behind the scenes. This is not like fluff. This is not, like, oh, go for your dreams, shoot for the moon. Like that's not what it is. I think you have to have a better understanding of what you're doing and why. And then once you have a really good grasp on that, go for it. But if you don't understand why you're doing it and you're just doing it to follow everybody else, I don't think that's the real reason why you should be doing things. So, do you need a CSCS to work with athletes or pro sports? All right. We figured out why you want to do it. So say for instance you need the accountability, but I need you to admit that. You can't do it on your own. Okay. We started with that. Cool. Love that. Are you even seeing the clientele that would justify you paying the, I don't know, $500, $700, $800? I don't even know how much it is anymore. Let's say $500. Does it justify that? Or are you not seeing the people that you want and you want to take this so you can use it to improve your ability to get a job in that setting? I see that as well. I do. I do, because when you're looking at, I mean, we just put a job application at Sports Performance. We had 247 applicants. And I understand that when you're looking at 247 resumes, some things might stand out. I get that. So for different scenarios, it's going to work great. So if you need accountability, go for it. Pay for it, because you're not going to pay attention until you pay for it. Secondly, if you're seeing the clientele and the podcasts that you've listened to, all the books you've been reading, and that hasn't helped you grow, because all you've been doing is absorbing knowledge and learning, and you haven't been able to implement it, maybe you need to sit down and have focus sessions so that you can dedicate time to that. I understand that too. But that's a accountability challenge, right? Like that's an internal thing. You can't stay focused on what you need. So if you need it now to work with more athletes, I think you can get that same content wherever you want, right? Between YouTube, Instagram, books, podcast, PDFs on Google. I mean, you name it, Google Books or audio book, whatever it is. There's so much content. It's almost too much content. So do you need it? No. Will it help you? Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking for that next little extra boost, nothing wrong with that. Is there another certification that you would aspire to get to improve your outcomes? I think it's the base foundational certification to help you take that next step. I am totally a fan of it. I took it in 2000, the year 2000. And things are pretty much the same, just an updated book. Take the exam. I don't know if it's if it's a testing center or whatever it is nowadays, but the foundations are the foundations. Everything that's been written has been written. Nothing is game changing. Nothing in life is like game changing anymore. If you want to read a good book, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. Nothing really changes anymore. There's very few things that go from 0 to 1 where like you change the game. It's like something paramount, brand new, has changed the game of how things are done. Amazon was a 0 to 1. PayPal was 0 to 1. Brand new innovations that the world hadn't seen before, and it changed the way that people do things. Apple, 0 to 1. In the rehab setting and strength conditioning world, there's not a lot of 0 to 1s. There's not a lot of game changers. It's all been there. All you're doing is just tweaking it, maybe doing a new Instagram exercise or adding the Bosu or adding this band and then now adding this breathing technique when you're lying on your left side. I don't care. I think those things are great. I'm not in it for the innovation. I'm in it for the outcomes. So the principles have always been the same, and they're going to stay the same. Based on my current knowledge right now, they're just going to stay the same. I have every right to change my mind, but based on my current knowledge right now, they're going to stay the same. So read the foundations, learn basic programming principles. Those are essential to help you understand. And I think that PT school generally just gives you this idea that, 3 sets of 10, 2 sets of 8. Actually, PT school is probably about 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 15. Is that all you learn? I forget. Uh, but ultimately, it's not that, right? It's relative to the sport, what aerobic system, anaerobic system, are they in the lactate threshold? Like you have to understand what their principles are. They're a soccer athlete, they're a hockey athlete, different energy system, different demand, lateral, multi-directional, linear athlete. I mean, there's just so much to it. How many days a week are they in a off season? Are they preseason? Are they in a strength training, general preparatory phase? You just have to understand that. I think if you're taking the CSCS exam, you're not looking just to improve your outcomes. I think the CSCS will do one thing: allow you to understand, to better understand what it takes to be an athlete and to be able to speak that language. And what that means is when you're talking to a pro athlete, you're talking to a high school athlete, a collegiate athlete, semi-pro, right? Or a master's athlete, somebody who's now back in the game and they're doing triathlons or doing a CrossFit Masters event, whatever it is. Now you can still have really good dialogue. And that's a challenge. If you're not into athletics as much as some of these people are, and that's the truth. Some of you listening to this might say like, well, I work out. Yeah, you exercise, you don't train. There's a difference. When you exercise, there's no goal. You're just going to the gym. No offense. When you train, there's a purpose and there's a goal. Learn the difference. When people say like, I'm here to exercise. Okay, sounds good. At least I know that you're aware of it. What are you training for? I'm a marathon. Okay, you have a marathon or a triathlon. Sounds good. You are training for a purpose versus I'm exercising to stay healthy and fit. There's certain points in time in people's lives that they're going to be exercising and they're going to be training. You have to understand that basic foundation before you even talk to them. They might think they're training, but they have no goal. I'm trying to lose 5 pounds. Is there a goal? Timeline? No, I've just been trying to lose. Oh, you're exercising. You have no focus, no intent. Okay, so then now, if you have somebody who's training, now you can see where they are. Where are you peaking? Where's the event? Well, it's 6 months from now. Okay, let's work backwards. So 2 weeks later, 1 week waiting for the event, you're going to be tapering. 1 3 week or 3 month block, you're going to be in peak conditioning. In 3 weeks or 3 months from that, you're going to be doing general strengthening, and 3 months from that, you're going to be doing just general conditioning. And so you can just generally, like, you don't have to know every sport. All you have to know is timelines. And I think the CSCS kind of opens your eyes to that. And it doesn't really necessarily make you a strength conditioning specialist. Sorry, I shouldn't say generally. It does not make you a strength and conditioning specialist. I work with some of the best in the world, the absolute best. Why? Not because they can write the best programs. That's not what makes it. It's who's the best coach. who can understand the mindset of an athlete, who can understand where they are in the season, who can understand their fatigue levels, who can understand their performance, who can understand when they're doing a few lifts or when they see their energy levels when they come into the gym and they know they're in season, they're exhausted. Somebody who doesn't have to generally push them and force them only because it's on paper and it has to happen. That's not a good strength coach. A good strength coach is somebody who understands the whole year, the whole athlete, the mindset, the physical component. That is what makes a good strength coach. And that takes years of experience, along with good mentorship and some base level of education, which certification might give you that. But when you take this exam, don't think you're a strength coach. You have the basic fundamentals. Because if you work in a rehab setting, a traditional orthopedic setting, and you're working with one subset of clients in a specific timeline, you're only understanding strength conditioning in that timeline. You may not know how to implement strength conditioning principles with acute injuries or subacute. Maybe you might know chronic and maybe a little bit of return to sport. But most PTs were only specialists from like 6 weeks of injury to 3 months of post-injury, maybe 6 months based on insurance. And if you're lucky, you can get out to 9 months. But somebody who understands pre-surgery, post-surgery, subacute, up to 6 months, get them to 9 months, plyos, return to sport, multi-directional, looking at programming, looking at actual parameters and when to peak them, when they're in season, how to produce good aerobic conditioning, how to keep them fit while they're rehabbing, push them all the way to a year, get them back to sport and keep them. That's a big timeline, and not everybody gets that opportunity. So when you take the CSCS, out of full respect, I think you have to have respect for the people who do this for a living. It's like somebody getting a rehab certification over a weekend. It doesn't make them a rehab specialist. It just makes them more aware and they can talk the talk, which is good. That's a Kickstarter. But a CSCS does not make you a true strength and conditioning coach. It gives you the base amount of knowledge. And so if you know that, is it going to help you work with athletes? Absolutely, because I said it's going to help you have better dialogue and have an understanding of what they do. Are they training or exercising? If they're training, then you can better program for them or insert your rehab specialties within that. But if they're working with somebody who is a strength conditioning specialist who does this for a living, you respect that. And it allows you to have better dialogue with that person. Hey, I know, and I've said this before, whenever you're working with a client or an athlete, there are multiple people taking care of that athlete. Don't you think that you're the only one? You've got maybe a dietitian, maybe they go see the physician, primary care specialist. They might have a massage therapist, an athletic trainer they work with, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, whoever it is, and they work in this whole sink, right? And you're just one piece. And when they are injured, the person who manages them, that person takes over. So when they're not injured, they might be seeing their massage therapist or their primary care or their dietitian more, and they're the main chefs, they're the main cooks. When they're injured, it might be you who is now taking lead. Maybe they're in season, maybe their strength coach is the main chef. They're the one taking care of them. So now, when they get hurt, you take over, and everybody else kind of backs off, and you tell me what to do. What are we doing? And when the strength coach is in season, non-injured, and they're taking lead, you respect that. And now with having the CSCS, all that does is have better dialogue to say, hey, I understand what you're doing. Here's kind of what we're working on. What's your next phase? What are you looking for? Where are they strength-wise? What do you need from me? And what that does is it allows you to have better relationships with your community and the people that we serve. And ultimately, it's the client. They are at the center of this world, and they deserve that. And what it does is it allows you to have better communication in a multidisciplinary fashion, and allows you to be more successful. And that client, once they see that and they see that, man, this person, this human, this male or female, now put me kind of on this pedestal, and they're working with everybody, they're emailing, calling to make sure I'm okay. Think about that. If that was you, I think you'd appreciate that. But if you exercise and don't train, it's not that important. You're just doing it for general fitness and health. I shouldn't say just. You are doing it for fitness and health. Nothing wrong with that. Different points in your life, you're going to be exercising. While they train, they need that. So, will a CSCS help you work with athletes? Yes. Talk the talk, communicate with the client and other providers, trainers, coaches, personal trainers, whatever it is. And it allows you to understand how you fit in this world of sports medicine or clinical care or healthcare, whatever it is. The culture of healthcare is changing dramatically. And the internet changed the game. Instagram, YouTube, people have access to information. So they're going to go to you because they think that you're the specialist, you're the cardiologist, you're the dentist, you're the specialist in this one area. And they're going to formulate their own group, and you need to accept it and stop. The more PTs, the more rehab specialists I talk to, they want to take over everything. Like I want to do the strength conditioning side, and I want to do the rehab side, and I want to do the acute care and taping and all that stuff. But in reality, if you don't live in that world, it's hard to be specialized in all those aspects. So having general knowledge and being good at those different components, but ultimately you got to have a specialty. You got to have like your niche. You have to, because that's why people are going to go to you. Maybe you're the runner person. Maybe you're the taping person. Maybe you're like, ultimately you're going to be well-rounded, but the niche, what you love and like enjoy, people will go to you naturally. But you have to be able to work with everybody else around you. And that's what makes an incredible provider. Somebody who can just navigate different settings. And they don't have that ego. They just are willing to work with anybody because they know their place and they're humble. One of the core values here at Sports Performance is to be humble. No matter how good you get your clients, there's days downstairs that we get clients better in one visit. 90 to 100%. They're like floating on air. And we'll get the providers like, oh my gosh, I did it. That was amazing. Yeah, but you're going to have 5 others behind that are just going to not get better at all. And it's going to take a lot of work behind the scenes to do that. And so stay like head above water. Just don't enjoy your moments. But I think that you have to be humble. And I think that working with athletes, if you really want to work with athletes, I think you have to understand that, because working with athletes, you got to see them daily, every other day, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week. Even if they know their own bodies, they still need a consultant to help them understand how to make the best moves and best decisions. And that's the role we play. I think that healthcare will change. Like I said, the internet changed the game. And we're now more consultants than anything else. People come to us for education, and they can do everything they want online, but they ultimately need the justification, validation that like they're on the right track. Everybody needs it. That's why you're listening to this podcast. That's why you're doing the same thing. Am I on the right track as a PT? I know I can get all these certifications. I listen to these podcasts and these books, but is this the right way to go? Like, think about that. We all need it. I hope that is a little reality check. Like, we all need that. And that's ultimately what we do as healthcare providers. We just keep them on the right track. And they'll always fall off. They're humans. They're always going to fall off. And we just provide those bumpers to keep them on the right track. So having the CSCS just gives you one more piece, one more like big toolbox to allow yourself to have communication with the client and the healthcare providers that also serve that client. Now, do you need a CSCS to get into pro sports? All right, that's a big question. Do you need it? I don't think so. All right, did I have mine going into pro sports? Yes. Did it improve my application, or actually, with all due respect, I didn't apply. Somebody vouched for me and put me into these settings. And if you haven't heard, I think it's my very first podcast, I say how I get into pro sports and my journey. But anyways, how to get into pro sports is a different ball game. I mean, that's definitely relationships, and you putting so much work in, and people putting their word in for you. And I think that having the CSCS allowed me to work better, have better relationships with clients, have better relationships with healthcare providers, And when I had better outcomes and those people verbalized it to other healthcare providers, and I worked with those healthcare providers and they saw that I can play the game with pro athletes, I think it helped me get that position. So did a CSCS directly improve that? No, not at all. I don't think you need a CSCS directly to make it. Do I think it improves your resume? Yes. And I'll give you a little tidbit here about how I look for PTs who come into sports performance. We hire 1 to 2 PTs a year here at Sports Performance as we continue to grow. We're very blessed. Um, and if you ever are looking for a position here, here's some. If you have anybody who ever knows anything or wants to work in San Diego with athletes, pro sports, we're one-on-one, and we see a very heavy athletic population. I'd say 90%. And I look for certain qualities. And does a CSCS improve your application? Not necessarily. Because what does improve it is because I know these things behind the scenes. I'm just looking for that professional who can navigate relationships with healthcare providers, navigate relationships with clients, and who is not afraid to make mistakes. And does a CSCS improve that? No, not necessarily. Not for me, anyways. Maybe pro sports might want it because they have to have a certain resume on file. For some people, I think pro sports are now looking closer at the SCS, and to have the CSCS is just kind of icing on the cake. But if you're looking to get a pro sports job, do you need it? No. But will it help you? Yes. Will it help you get a job in elite level, private clinics? Not necessarily. It depends on the leadership, and I can tell you that at Sports Performance it doesn't, because you're going to get that education here. We have a significant onboarding and mentorship that first full year to get people up and running and be truly to excel with working with athletes. And there's a lot to it. People think it's just the rehab exercise. That's like maybe 10%. There's everything else that goes behind it, like we're talking about here, and understanding the relationships and understanding athletes and understanding programming and timelines and all those other things. So does a CSCS, do you need one to get to work with athletes? Sure, why not? Will it help you? Yeah, absolutely. And do you need it to get into pro sports? You might, from a resume builder, just to be able to get into there. Now, how do you study for it? There's no secret sauce. I mean, you can probably take. I mean, you can find somebody to pay to take an online course to help you get the pearls and everything else. But at the current time of this podcast, one of the qualifications to get the CSCS, or even to apply to take it, is I think you have to have a bachelor's degree at the time of this podcast, and that might change down the line. But if that's a requirement, if you studied to get a bachelor's degree and you're going to take the CSCS and you're trying to look for loopholes, there's other challenges that you might have. If you had a bachelor's and you studied for 4 years or 6 years or whatever it took you to get that, I mean, the CSCS, it won't be hard. It's just grinding it out. So my one feedback, and I see people study for it now, some of our own team members here at Sports Performance, they will do that as well. And the thing I'd say is just get it done in 3 months. Shoot for the stars. Just go for it. 3 months. Don't try and drag this out. Let me do it next year. No, this is not the OCS exam or the SCS. This is a weekend certification that you can crush in 3 months or less. And that's assuming that you're doing, and I always talk about, if you can't make it happen on paper, you can't make it happen at all. So work backwards. Go 3 months. How many chapters are there? I don't know, 24. And you have 12 weeks. You got to do 2 chapters every single weekend, and maybe you do one per day, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. You do it 24 or 12 weeks. There's 24 chapters, but you have to break that down, and you have to know yourself and how you study. Don't try and hey, I want to finish 8 chapters in 1 week. Don't do that. So what I'm saying is, with all due respect, just do it in 3 months. So get it done in 3 months. Do weekends, and if you're a good studier during the week, great, that's a bonus. don't try and plan on doing that. And get all distractions away from you. Set on your calendar, talk to your partner, significant other, and let them know, because if not, they're going to continue to bother you. Sorry, continue to challenge you in your study habits. I my wife knows what I mean by that. I love my kids. I love my wife, and I have to get out of the house to do content like this, to study. Yes, I'm currently still studying. I'm writing. I'm in the middle of two books. One is almost done. I've been trying to finish this thing, and just like I'm telling you guys, you just gotta stay strict with it and create your timelines. I have to write mine at 5 a.m. So I wake up at 4:45 a.m. 15 minutes of planning and life planning, and I have to write for an hour every morning in order for me to get the work quality that I want. So just like you, I'm finding that balance. That's why I'm sharing my secrets, because ultimately we are all human, and this is how we naturally gravitate towards what's easy, and that's just to not do it. So if you're asking me how to study for it, 3 months, every single Saturday, Sunday. The week during the week is a bonus. Get it done in 12 weeks. Sign up for the exam. If you don't sign up for the exam, you're not going to study. There's the magic right there. So if you're listening to this, go online, sign up for it. Sign up for it 3 months from now. Even if you're like, man, should I do it? Just do it. Stop it. Why? Just end the podcast now. Like, just get rid of my podcast right now. Because if you're not going to do it, like, stop listening. Because this is the type of stuff that I tell my team and anybody close to me, any colleagues, anybody that I coach and mentor. If you're not going to do it, you're never going to get it done. And you have to pay to play. So pay for it, sign up for it, just do it. And once you sign up for it, guess what? Then you'll start studying. I promise you. So if you've been delaying it, go for it. If you need to, like, you're more logical, you need to like plan this out, go, okay, sounds good. But don't let it go too long. Go 3 months. So there you have it. I do have my CSCS. I still get it updated. Why do I have mine? I like refreshers. I like to kind of keep myself going. I try not to be complacent. I like reviewing kind of the latest. What do I need to know about athletes? What's changing? As I told you, rarely do things go 0 to 1, especially in the strength conditioning world. It's 0 to 0, meaning that the programs, the fundamentals are there. There's nothing dramatically going to be different. So having this will stop you from listening to all the 20 different podcasts, trying to read all the 30 different books to grab the same content. If you just do it old school, pay for the exam, sit down and do it, because you need the accountability. More than ever, you probably just need that. So I hope that helps. But I am so blessed to be able to sit here and tell you I am a new father. So I'm going to go play with my son. I'm going to go spend some family time. I hope life is amazing for all of you. And I hope it continues to be amazing. And I'll produce more and more content. I have a really good episode coming up. I'm not sure when it's going to air. It's probably in the next 1 to 2. But it's about financial planning for the physical therapist. So I have a special guest speaker on that. But more to come. If it's on the next one, it'll probably be on the following one. But give me feedback. I love what you guys have been providing me, because it changes the way that I provide content. More than ever, some of the best advice and feedback is 5-star reviews on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts. There's one on there that I'm going to shout out because I love everything that this person said, and you can read it on there. But it was more of, we get research and science in school all day, and sometimes you need the things that are going to help you be a bigger, better professional, not just the content that makes you good in the clinic, but everything outside of that to take a bigger view of what you do as a healthcare professional. So I would greatly appreciate it if you gave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I am looking at producing more weekly content for you guys and this conference coming up for physical therapists, and looking at different topics. I have a couple different ideas, and I'm going to ask you guys down the line. We're looking at acute care management, looking at taping techniques. We're looking at grade 5 mobilizations. We're looking at different categories of stuff that you might not get in one full Con Ed course normally. This is more going to be I don't want to ruin it, but physical therapists who are trying to understand the full spectrum, strength conditioning principles, everything outside of just the phase 2 rehab, chronic low back pain. We're looking at all the other ends of the spectrum. So that's coming down the pipeline. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to go play with my son. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take care, guys.